Hi everybody, Diana here at Build A Quilt. Welcome to our video, my favorite pressing tools, or favorite pressing tools, but these are my favorites. I have done videos for you guys that have been my favorite tools that I use for Build A Quilt, all those kinds of little things, but I haven't done one on pressing tools, and I thought I would because in a recent video on our bonus quilt part 1, I talk about some of the pressing tools I use a little bit, and I forgot to show you one. So I thought, well, let's do a little video and show you all. So this won't be too long. So first of all, let's talk about space for a moment. Some people have a big ironing board. I do, and I hate using it, to be quite frank. I don't like getting it out. I don't like putting it away. I don't really have a place, even here in the studio. Sorry, I've got something in my eye, on my glasses. Here in the studio that it sets up nicely. I just don't like it particularly much. Sometimes I got to get it out because it really is useful, like for pressing pants and shirt sleeves and stuff like that. But my favorite place to press is right on my cutting table. Now, you might not have a cutting table. You might be cutting on your countertop with a mat, right? A cutting mat underneath. And that's fine too, because what I'm going to show you can work for that as well. So I like using a small mat to press on, because when I'm pressing for Build A Quilt, let me just take this little guy down. This is if you're part of Quilt Lab, this is our new July sunflower mini quilt block or quilt. When I'm pressing open my pieces in the back, I don't need a big space. I need a tiny space, right? So I keep this and my iron and all set up right on my cutting table. And what I love is this. Right? Looks like just your regular old wool mat, but look at the back of it. It's got that non-skid on it. That's what it looks like. So it's mostly wool, and then a little bit of a piece there. And this came, I think there might have been a fourth one, or maybe it was just these 3 sizes, but I think there might have been a fourth one. They were a set. Now, I got these from Dime Designs and Machine Embroidery at least like 3 or 4 years ago. Dime no longer exists as Dime. It's now part of OESD. I think they still use the Dime name, but OESD owns them now. And so I don't know if they sell these or not, but I know that they sold these for specifically if you had oval hoops, square hoops, things like that. But I really liked this size. These two I use a lot for travel. Like even if we're just going somewhere for a weekend, I take one with me. So if I need to press something, I've got my favorite little pressing pad to do that. But this is the size I keep on my table. You could just use a regular wool mat. I'm going to suggest if you use a regular wool mat for your pressing, put a little piece of just plastic shelf liner or something under it, just to keep it from having the moisture go through on top of a wood surface or even on top of your countertop. I have heard of people's countertops getting scorched because moisture comes through these as a steam and has scorched. But with that on the back, I've never had a problem. Now I have a big wool only mat that fits the whole size of my cutting area, but I don't use it very often anymore because once I got this, I really fell in love with it and decided to use it. So this is the surface I press on. I use another one of the, oh, I know where my fourth one of these are. I have my big Aliso iron sitting on it. Because of this, the iron can sit on here, and you know how the Aliso pops up, and then steam doesn't come through. That's where my other one is. I knew it was around here somewhere. So that's the mat and the size that I like to use. It's great, like I said, for Build A Quilt because we create in segments. So as you're pressing segments, as you're pressing your seams open on the back of your blocks. And remember, with Build A Quilt, I create a tighter stitch length. So like a 1.8 stitch length so that you can open these seams up without anything popping through or falling apart. So it's really nice for that. Even like the larger segment pieces that get up to like 5x5, 6x6, those still fit great on something like this. All right. So that is my favorite surface to press on. Now, the next thing, let's talk about irons. Okay. All irons are not created equal, but there are a lot of really good irons on the market. There are some really good brands. Oliso is one. I like Oliso. I've also used Rowenta. Rowenta is a really good brand. I've also used Panasonic. And although I liked the idea of the Panasonic because you put it in a charger, it didn't ever give me enough heat. And you guys know that here, let's talk about heat for a second when we're pressing. I know with cotton, we're always told, honk that temperature all the way up, really get in there and you'll be great. That's the worst thing in the world to do for cotton. Cotton is a fiber from a plant, right? A cotton plant. And that much heat dries those fibers out. And that's why a lot of times older quilts tend to fall apart because they have been pressed with so much heat. They've dried out. They've never been rehydrated, as it were, and they will start to disintegrate over time. It's just a scientific fact that that will happen. And you might not see it now. You might not see it in your lifetime, or you might. But if you gift it and somebody says, you know what, there's like, I'm getting a hole in my quilt and it's not rubbing on anything. Could be because you pressed it with too high of a heat. So my heat selection on my Oliso is the one that says synthetic and wool right in there. It's kind of right in the middle. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's just right. Isn't it the mama bear that's just right? Or the baby bear is just right. I don't know. Anyway, it's that one right in the middle, and it works perfectly every time. Please, please, I beg of you, do not overheat your irons when you're pressing your quilting cotton. I have learned that the hard way, and I learned that from my grandmother over 55 years ago. And even the ladies that she quilted with all said, don't use a super hot iron on your cotton. Yes, you might have to press a little bit, but don't use that horrible, horrible high heat. Okay. That's my tip on temperature. But on irons, so I have a couple of these Oliso minis. This is the first version, and I have the newest version because it was gifted to me. I will be honest with you when I say that the Oliso Mini is not my favorite iron. Sorry. You guys know, like, I love Tula. Tula says this is her favorite iron, the Oliso Mini. Perfect for her. For whatever reason she loves it, great. But for me, I don't. And the reason I don't is this isn't a good enough tip for me here. It's not so bad for using on Build A Quilt. But when I was quilting before I created Build A Quilt, this was not a good enough tip for me. And I was losing the treatment on here. And it never stayed on. The steam wasn't quite, I found it really bulky in my hand. I just don't care for this one. You may though. And if you do, then use it. All right. But I don't want you running out and buying this because Diana showed it on a video, because this truly is not my favorite. In fact, I had to dust this one off because I've not used it in like 2 years. But it does have this nice pad that this snaps onto. Let me get that on there like that. So when you store it, it's got its nice little place. This one does not pop up like the big one. However, when I used it, I turned it over to that side so that it has something to sit on top of the mat. That's why I've got more protection between the bottom plate here and my tabletop. Okay. but it works. There's nothing wrong with it. This was the second original I had. The first original I had died in about 3 months. And I think that was probably just something that was wrong with it from the get-go, because this one still, as far as working, would work just fine if I wanted to use it. I thought about, just taking this one traveling and stuff, but I don't even use it for that. It sits in the cabinet and looks pretty. I might end up giving it to my niece or something. I don't know. Because she might like it. Because other people do like it. It's just not my iron. And that's the thing with irons. Irons are kind of a personal preference. The most expensive iron on the market is not necessarily the best iron on the market either. I do use the full size Aliso. I have the Missouri Star Quilt version, and I have the Tula Pink version. I've had the Missouri Star Quilt version since, in fact, I missed it when it first came out, so I had to be on a waiting list. So I got it like 6 months later when they got more in. And it still works perfectly. I've had it for years. It works great. I love it. I love and totally the reason I love it so much is that pop-up feature, because I'm really bad about forgetting to turn my iron off. And that one will turn itself off. So when Tula came out with her version, I had to have it, right? So I don't have it here to show you because it's actually in use at the moment. But I use it. I like that one comes to more of a point in the front than the mini did. I don't know why they didn't make the fronts similar. And I love that one. So the small one, not so much. The full-size one, I love it. It's a lot when you're doing small pieces. I would like to have a nice small one, but I haven't found a small one yet that I really love. But you can use a small one, or you can use a full-size one. I used to have a Rowenta that had a container that the water came up through for steam. I don't use steam anymore because it's too hot on cotton to use steam. So I don't use that one. I gave that one away. So that's irons, completely your choice. The most expensive is not the best. Get something that works for you. If you get a $28 iron at Walmart, you might be getting a $28 iron at Walmart, if you know what I mean. Or you might be getting one of the best irons you've ever tried. So, if you have the chance to try them out, like in a class where I teach, they always put up pressing stations, and they always have 3 or 4 irons out. And they have, they sell a few brands at the store. So they have the different brands out so people can try them. That's a great way to figure out if you want to spend a good deal of money or not on an iron. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is, what do I use in regard to spray? Do I spray? Do I not spray? I do spray. A lot of times I will use, if I just need a quick, I use water. I always use a mister bottle. This is an older Kimberbell one that I've had for several years, but these mister bottles are available everywhere now, right? When this one was out, you couldn't find them anywhere. You could get them as gifts or in packages and things from Kimberbell, places like that, but you couldn't just go and buy one. I think you can even get them at Dollar General or Dollar Tree or whatever nowadays. Don't quote me, but I think I've seen them there because they're everywhere. And they're like the better mousetrap for water bottles. This is great. I have them all over the house. I use them for hair products. I have them for I missed my seedlings and my seedling trays in the greenhouse with them. I keep one in the kitchen that's got water and vinegar, and I spray the countertop to clean up after dinner. So I use them for everything. They're really good. Some of these can be a little pricey. I have a few of the big, longer ones, but I found that I didn't really need them. Like, my hair products fit in something this size. And so I get the smaller ones, but you might want a bigger one. But that's what I would, let's see if I can show you. You can kind of just see that little bit of mist there. Works perfectly. Now, what's in here? Like I said, sometimes I use water, but here is my recipe. So I bet most of you, sorry, my throat's really sore, guys, have heard of the product called Flatter. It is a pressing spray. For heaven's sake, do not use full strength. I mean, you can, it's meant to use full strength, but it's way more than you need to get a good press. Save yourself some time and money. If they had this in the gallon size, maybe I would use full strength, but I don't. So I kind of tested it over a while. So what I do with this flatter, if you're wondering, I like fig. It's just a scent that, no, I can't smell it anymore. I lost my smell when I had COVID last summer, but I love I love the figs. They have lots of other scents. So I think they have one that's like petal or bloom or something, which must be flowery. They have a citrus, which I know is nice. I remember those fragrances when I still could smell. And I think they have one with no scent at all. Maybe, I think. But fig, that's the one I like. So what I do is in the winter, or like now when we have colds and we are taking like a cold medicine that has these little medicine cups on them, I save these. They're so good for everything. I mean, they're so good. Like if you have an arrow garden, they're a great little greenhouse lid over your seedlings while they are germinating. So if you run out of the ones that come with your arrow garden, these medicine cups work perfect. They're the right dimension around and everything. And the other thing I use for them is making my little recipe. 1 cap of flatter in here, 3 caps of water. And I think I do that twice. And that's all I put in one of these at once. And it lasts me a good long time because I don't go crazy. I go really quick and then I press. Now, the last thing. So flatter, 1 cap, water, 3 caps, shake it up. You're good to go. So this bottle, you can see, is probably just slightly under half full. Like it's like just like if that were half right there, it's just a little under half full. I've been using this bottle for a year. Okay. So I'm kind of, I save my money on stuff like this because I got to buy my fabric, right? So you guys know how that is. So that's the recipe that I use. And I'll put that in the description below. 1 cap flatter, 3 caps water into your mister bottle. Now, the very last thing about pressing. Do I press and lift or do I glide? So if you know what I mean here, do I press and hold, or do I glide? Well, to be honest, I do both. If I am, I'm just hooking this cord, which I can't get it to hook either. Well, fiddlesticks. Okay. If I am opening up seams and pressing my actual blocks, I press and lift, press and lift. If I slide, I'm going to end up, and I must have done it somewhere because somewhere here it's goofy. Yeah, like right there, it's a little goofy. I need to redo it. It didn't, it kind of came up. It's because I slid across that instead of lifting, and that popped back up. So when I'm doing seams, press and lift. If I have just a piece of fabric, like a fat cord or something laying out, and I'm pressing the wrinkles out of it, I don't heavily slide, I lightly slide. And that's the nice thing about getting an iron that has like a Teflon or some sort of a treatment on the sole plate. In case you're wondering, this is your sole plate. Then I will lightly slide to get my wrinkles out. But if I'm working with my actual blocks and my actual quilt, I press and lift. Otherwise, you end up with wrinkles in your quilt that you're not going to want. And sometimes you get kind of a permanent wrinkle. All right, everybody. So that is my favorites and my tips and tricks for pressing. I hope that was helpful for you. If you need to get a hold of me, you can do so. It's, oops, not there. At support@sewincommon.com. Check out our website, please, mybuildaquilt.com. That's where all of our patterns. We use our Build a Quilt combo basic set to make a lot of our projects here. So if you want to join us for them, you're going to need to grab that. We've got a couple things going right now, and you need those sets to do them. So check that out. And please, there we go, subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends. That's how this group has grown. You guys inspire me and you inspire one another. I'm just kind of here as your guide along the journey of your quilting journey. And so that's how the quilt group has grown, because you guys subscribe, like, and share. So please do that. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, you all know that I believe wholeheartedly quilters are artists, and artists make the world a more beautiful place. So you go quilt and you make life beautiful. Until next time, everybody, bye for now.